Hey everyone, just listening to an inspiring talk, and it made me think about the two common poles of mistakes that people make when they think they're being kind of emotionally intelligent. And one is more obvious. Most of us know about this and know kind of it's not right, it's bad, or we shouldn't do it. And that is to avoid, deny, reject, stuff, hate, resist emotions, and difficult emotions in particular, right? We're cool with happy emotions, but usually when we're doing that stuff, we're talking about the angry, the sad, the afraid, etc. And we want to get rid of it. We want to numb it. We want to watch Netflix. We want to do anything to not feel that stuff. Well, that just kind of, it piles up, it piles up, it piles up. And eventually that's like a powder keg. And really it's just like the essence of procrastination is the more you procrastinate, the more you are not dealing with the situation, the more you're going to have a bigger problem down the line. And so that we know that doesn't work, and that's one pole. But the other pole is less common and less known that it doesn't work, and that is, and people don't, I think people maybe understand this intellectually, but oftentimes don't actually practice this, and that is that we get stuck believing, thinking about, acting on, ruminating on the stories about our emotions. And we don't recognize that actually, if we're in a state of upset, where the brain has something called the built-in negativity bias, and it actually is designed to over-exaggerate, to delete, distort, and exaggerate to the negative, and actually doesn't actually tell us accurate information. So when we are kind of believing everything our minds tell us about our emotions, we're apt to repeat old patterns, to get ourselves into all sorts of trouble, to exaggerate the negative, to have a pretty crappy experience and pretty crappy results that come from that. So that, what is it that we actually do with emotions? And what we can recognize that emotions are natural. They're just like anything else in nature. They have a birth. They have 5 phases: a birth, a growth, a stability, a decay, and a dissolution. And so if we are able to be with, to neither avoid, deny, reject, nor entertain the stories or the reasons or the interpretations about the emotions, but we can be with. And the first step of that is just simply welcoming, being with. Think of Rumi's guest house, welcome whatever comes. If we can be with and watch or witness or notice, first of all, our physiological sensations, but second of all, the birth. We usually don't catch it at the birth stage, but we're like, usually we might catch it if we're good with awareness, we'll catch it with the growth stage, or maybe in the stability stage. But then just know that if we just wait and be with it and welcome it and host it, these are all different, we allow it, then it's naturally going to move on to the next phase of decay and then dissolution. And it will come to a natural conclusion. However, we get stuck when we start thinking about the reasons and the stories about the emotion. That's how we actually prolong the stability stage. We keep it stable by thinking about it and believing everything that our mind is telling us about it. But when we let it go through this whole entire arc, we start to recognize that we actually are not our emotions. We are not our emotions. We are the awareness will, the being that hosts the emotion, that hosts the birth, the growth, the stability, the decay, and the dissolution. And that we, our consciousness, our awareness will, is the constant, and the emotions come and they go. They arise and they die. They have birth and they have death. And when we can watch and be with that whole experience, it finishes, and then we're back to ourselves. And then from there, we can choose to act in accordance with our values, regardless of the arc of the emotion, I get to now let that be done and let that be complete. And now I can move forward in line with the person that I value and choose to be. And this is based on my values, my integrity, and it's useful to go through contemplation exercises. Well, what are the most important values? You know, for most of us, it's things like love or kindness or patience or joyful or whatever. And now I can go forth as who I choose to be instead of in a creative state, instead of in a reactive state where I'm reacting from being stuck in one of those cycles of the emotion. So that is a big difference and not totally well known in the world of emotional intelligence. In fact, I think most of the time in emotional intelligence, we think, oh yeah, well, I have this feeling and I know what it means and I know what it must mean, and I must project it on you and to talk to you about what it means, and you must believe what I believe it means, and if you don't believe what I believe it means, then now we're at odds. And this is what gets us in all sorts of trouble in relationships and processing and endless therapy and all this stuff. It's not really emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to be with that whole arc of the emotion, to let it die, to let it resolve, and then to go forward, acting from my choice instead of from my reaction. Acting creatively instead of reactively. All right, y'all. Hope that was useful for you. Have a beautiful day.